I'm playing MC for the meeting, Corey, so I decided to dress up.
I
Look
like
at
it.
you.
Looking good, man. Looking
This
good.
is this is like the only time I've done this in since March. So
Looking sharp. How's everybody doing?
Good.
I'm hiding out in my basement, so hopefully don't hear my kids upstairs.
I actually gave a warning to my kids too, like, hey, when if you guys start screaming and fighting, everyone in the basketball association is going to hear you. So
Nah, they
I
don't.
don't think that'll make a difference, but we'll see.
I just dropped my loud one off at Lifetime to play some hoops, so he's not here, thankfully.
Oh,
Nice.
beautiful. Yeah, just give it maybe a couple minutes, let everyone kind of roll in, then we can get started.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I have no idea how many people will be able to make it. Corey, did you figure out whether you are recording? Awesome. That's great. I'm sure there are a few people that won't be able to make it, and
Yep.
we can decide whether to
Yeah,
post this.
yeah, it'd be nice to be able to put that out there.
Yeah, cool.
Nice suit coat, Steve. You look very worldly behind that picture of
Yeah, you like that?
you clown.
So you guys all started practices up yet? At least the 1 or 2 under your belt?
Yeah.
At 3.
3? It's going well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go by
Is it-
fast, and they're an hour and 15 minutes. But that's good, I think.
Yeah, right?
I'd rather have them feel like they're going by fast than dragging the last 15, 20 minutes. So
We had plenty of hour and 15-minute practices last year that we were actually sharing courts with people.
yeah.
And that's really, I mean, probably for most kids, that's realistically about the ability for them to focus, attention span, kind of wears off after that. Not much different as they get older.
I suppose I could change my name.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Hey, hi everybody.
Is Peyton
for hopping
actually
on,
joining
everybody.
us, Stacy?
Do you want him to?
I love that, Peyton and Stacy.
Right? No, it's just me.
Well, Corey, you have a hard stop at 6:30, right?
Yeah, maybe a couple minutes after is fine. I got some conferences that were scheduled for my kids going on in a little bit after that, so I got to do the dad roll there. But I can go a little bit after for sure.
Okay. Well, why don't we get started at least with intros, and I'm sure there'll be people coming into the meeting, in the next 5 minutes, but I'd like to get started if that's all right with everybody.
And then just so everyone knows too, this should be recording this in case you want to, whatever. I don't know, the option to share it or look back to it or give it to an assistant coach or something later on.
Yeah. Well, welcome everyone to the 2020 Coaching Clinic. I am Steve Knutson. I'm the player and coach development lead, and I'm also going to play your host for the evening, which is why I decided to dress up for the occasion. I'm joined by Corey Christopherson, the new varsity coach. And here's the format for tonight. I'm going to put Corey on the hot seat. I have some prepared Q&A. We're not going to do X's and O's per se, but I do want you to write down your questions, and we'll get to that eventually. The goal is to focus on coaching philosophy, how we integrate with the varsity program, and what kind of advice we can give all of our coaches to support you. After the Q&A that I have prepared, we'll open it up for Q&A for yourselves, and I also want to hit on other resources that we can provide to help you guys out. Sound good? All right, let's get to know Corey. Corey, you played basketball in Austin and grew up in Austin, Minnesota, and later became an assistant coach there.
Yeah.
So I got one important question. Were you forced to eat Spam as a kid, and have you continued that tradition with your 2 daughters?
I 100% was forced to eat Spam as a kid. My dad actually worked on the line down there in Austin, so he was on the ham line. and it's best in eggs. There's no doubt about that. There's this 100. It's fact. It's best with eggs. I have not put it on my kids yet. That's coming though. They're gonna have to. There's no doubt about it.
Tell us a little bit about quickly about your family, and then get into your current job, and tell us a little bit about your history playing and coaching basketball.
Yeah. So I was telling people earlier. I'm down in my basement now. I got my two kids upstairs are 5 and 7-year-old daughters. So hopefully they're upstairs and being relatively quiet. My wife is with them, so they're not just free for all up there. Yeah, and then go back to coaching history and all that stuff. So I grew up in Austin, actually played for Chris Fadness, who is a very good high school basketball coach, state champion coach down in Caledonia before he moved up to Austin, and played a couple of years junior college after that with the hopes of scholarship basketball, which didn't pan out, and then went and finished schooling in Winona State and started coaching at St. Mary's when I was actually in school. And then after graduation, became the varsity assistant for Chris in Austin. So right out of college, I did that for 9 years, and it was a ton of fun. We had some good success. Ended up with some state tournament experience and a couple state championship games, and ran into some really good De La Salle teams that we just couldn't figure out how to beat, which a lot of people couldn't in those runs. And then my wife and I, when our girls were little, we decided we wanted to do something different. We're both from Austin and wanted just a new experience. We moved up to Eden Prairie, took a teaching job, and then got on staff with Coach Flom and been on as an assistant coach with him for the last few years. Started sophomore, then running some varsity assistant and JV stuff, and then this opportunity came about in Chan. I'm really excited, and just pretty passionate, pretty pumped for what's coming up.
Great. Let's talk about program goals. I know as part of our youth program, we focus on skill development, sportsmanship, and having fun. How is this similar or different to your program goals and what you hope to accomplish at the varsity level?
Similar, for sure. Similar. I think that hits all three of them. The one area that we'll start to tweak a little bit more is the idea of, and the word that I use with our varsity guys, and they'll kind of trickle down the program, is compete. I think that's just an important word, that idea of competing in competition, how it's not a bad word, it's a good word. We can still maintain our sportsmanship and everything through all that, but just a little bit more focus on just competing. But those three things, sportsmanship, fun, and skill development, are going to be cornerstones. And that skill development piece, and that expanding our ability to play the game of basketball at a young age, and that's going to move up to our varsity program, is going to be very important for me and for us going forward.
Have you been able to get in front of the guys yet?
Yeah, so thankfully, even in this weird time, we were able to start in the summer and run some clinics and get some time there working on some skills with 4th grade and up, and then through tryouts, we get to see all those young guys. So I feel pretty good about actually putting names to faces with 4th through 12th graders already. Definitely not 100%, but it's fun to get to know those guys. And then this fall, we've high school program wise been able to have open gym a couple nights a week, and we just started fall league last Sunday. So we got a 9th grade JV and varsity team playing. That was actually the first time that I got to see them compete against anybody besides us in an open gym. So it was good.
Let's talk about your philosophy. I guess first and foremost, it's probably somewhat dependent on players' skills, athleticism, size, but how would you describe your preferred style of play?
So preferred style of play was the motion offense, man-to-man defense. And then it's going to be that personnel base for sure up there. But one of the words that I like to use a lot is pace, playing with pace on offense. And it's a difference than like that old Phoenix Suns getting a shot under 8 seconds or something like that. That's not the whole idea, but just playing with pace and spacing is what you'll see with us. So the three big things that we'll preach, and hopefully you guys will see down the line, is spacing, ball movement, and player movement. Those three things. And as we talk about stuff, it's not often, it's in that order of importance. Spacing number 1, ball movement number 2, and then player movement number 3. So when you get the opportunity to teach kids, whether it's 5th grade or 4th grade or whatever it is, that idea that um, spacing is numero uno, and then ball movement, and then we get to player movement.
Well, I'm assuming that's how you want us to probably focus our attention with all of our youth programs as well. Then,
Yeah, correct.
um,
Yep.
we have talked about putting in various videos that all the coaches can use. Is that something that you would come and create? Maybe here's our preferred motion style offense that we'd be using, a 5-out offense at the varsity level, or how do you envision us implementing that? And is it dependent on 4th grade to 8th grade, different A versus C? Is there any caveats to how you see us playing as youth programs to prepare them for high school?
Yeah, I think it's, well, I mean, the reality is that there's such a divide in kids and teams and ages and all that stuff. So it's never going to be exactly the perfect or this perfect progression. But when we're talking about teaching kids how to play basketball, it's, yeah, that idea that spacing is number one, and in 4th grade it's going to look different. In 4th grade it's a lot of just pass, cut, pass, screen away, and just those filling spots and understanding of not chasing the ball. And then as we progress through and we get into 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, adding some different options off screen games. So down screens and away screens and flare screens will be kind of the cornerstone of what we do off ball. And then as we've talked about and got through this, I feel like the best way to get that out to everybody isn't through like a one-time coaching clinic, but so Steve and I are putting together a YouTube channel where I'll just come in and videotape some stuff that our youth kids do, these just little skill work stuff and different things that we can do for the kids so that you can see those and implement them in your practice. But for sure, it's always going to be that way, but it's going to be different from 4th grade up.
To that end, if anyone in the program is willing to like volunteer to have Corey come and coach one of those skill sets and video, it doesn't always have to be my team or anything. I think getting a variety of kids that are on that video would kind of be cool for the kids, have kind of a lasting influence on having that video out there to support the program. So please reach out to me if you're interested in hosting Corey for, an individual drill session that we can record and put on YouTube. All right,
Yeah,
let's switch to defense, because zone is all we've played in the past, and it's the only thing that's going to work around here. Do you believe in a man-to-man or zone defense? How do you want to deal with that with the youth program?
Hoosier quotes are great. I gotta love man-to-man. So we're going to be man-to-man as we grow up. So just teaching kids how to play that is going to be what I want to see. I think it's pretty obvious in youth basketball that if you play a zone at a young age, it's going to help you win 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade basketball games. Like, it's just a fact that kids aren't strong enough to shoot it. Kids aren't that skilled. You can just stand back and watch kids shoot and miss shots. I think it does a detriment to our kids and their growth of not learning how to play defense. So I need man-to-man is what I would love to see us playing and throughout the youth levels, is just that idea of learning how to play, how to ball pressure, how to play off the ball, and how to communicate those 3 things. If you can get kids to improve on those throughout the year, that's a win on defense. As we get older, like, to be honest with you, in our high school program, we might sprinkle in a little bit of zone here and there to be competitive, and depending on our own personnel. Coming up through Austin coaching, I played man-to-man my whole life, and then we got a certain group of kids and where we could play this trapping 1-2-2 defense. And we have, if you don't know much about that program, we got a lot of Sudanese influx down there. So we got 6'5" kids that are about 160 pounds, but are just all arms and legs, and we can take away space. So coached a lot of zone, but I think just in the idea of development for our kids and learning the game, that it straight comes from man-to-man.
What other philosophical, basketball philosophy, objectives, and concepts do you want us to hear? What else comes to mind?
So within man-to-man, I don't want this to come off as just like micromanaging, because I want you to be able to have fun and coach your kids. So whether it's a pack line or you want to get up and pressure, any of that stuff, that doesn't matter to me as long as we're talking about playing man-to-man and help side defense and communication, you know. If you got a team with some guards and you want to pressure and get up and deny stuff, that's wonderful. If you got some big guys, you want to do more pack line stuff, that's totally fine. Coach your team up. But so that philosophical part isn't a big deal. I think even when we get to high school, we'll teach both and we'll switch it year to year depending on what our team looks like. So that's defensively, it's just the idea of the concept of teaching man-to-man and getting our kids to buy into what it takes to be good at that and understanding how to play the game on that side. And then, like we talked about offensively, it just comes down to those three big keys of spacing, ball movement, and player movement.
How rigid is your advice for coaches on that? You know, and how does it change for fourth grade versus eighth grade? Clearly, you want us playing them mostly man-to-man. It'll do your best to prepare them for high school. But what about zone every once in a while? Out of bounds? Does it matter at fourth grade versus eighth grade? Like, what do you see? And does playing a little bit of zone help them learn any concepts?
I think that's fine. And I don't think you can blanket statement any group, and I think that's something that we do poorly in a lot of things in like education and coaching. But you're talking, if you want to throw a possession or two in to be competitive against the team. I was talking to some of our seventh grade coaches, and they, you know, if you're getting consistently beat by the same kid doing the same thing over and over, and you want to give your kids a chance to be competitive later in the year, and you put in a little zone defense because you think it's going to give them a chance, that makes sense. I mean, that's not harmful to the kids by any means, but it's the idea that you just fall back to sit down in a 2-3 zone and not teaching is where I would want to have a little conversation or something about that. You know? But being competitive and giving kids a chance is fine if you want to sprinkle in some different options.
All right, so you just outlined your philosophy. What advice do you have for coaches that may have been youth coaches for a while now? This isn't their first year, and they have conflicting views or opposing views to your philosophy.
I mean, I would love, if you want to reach out and talk, we could definitely talk and see. I mean, I'm not coming from an idea where I think I have all the answers to everything, you know, by any means. I feel like what I've done and what I've coached and some of the success that I've been able to be part of is because of these areas that we're talking about right now. But if you have a strong belief in something and you feel like this is what has to work for your team, I'd love to communicate with you. I think that's probably the first and foremost thing. It's a little bit harder this year, but I would also offer to come up to watch our practices, you know. So I'm trying to find a way we can do that. I just talked to our AD today, and that's not really an option this year because of stuff. But going forward, you know, if you're coaching fifth grade and you're like, what do we want to see? Come up to our high school practice and, you know, talk to me beforehand, and we'll open it up for you, and you and your kids can come, or just you as a coach if you want to, just come and watch us play and kind of see what we're doing there and how that might translate down to your level.
All right, well, how about the opposite view? You got coaches here that may be coaching for the very first time, maybe don't feel like they have the basketball knowledge that you have. So what advice do you have for those coaches?
So, you know, we're talking hour and 15-minute practice. I don't think you can do too much skill work, you know, shooting, ball handling, that stuff. I mean, if you're just doing a few minutes at the beginning as a warm-up, I think you're probably doing a detriment to the kids. So you can chunk out, you know, 25, 30, 35% of your practice time to some of that skill work, and then take a large practice time to do, let them play games, you know. So do some, it's trendy now is these small-sided games, but having kids play 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 and put some rules in for them about dribble limits and what they should do and where they can screen, and let them figure it out on their own, and then give them a chance to play 5-on-5. I think that's just playing the game is how kids learn. To me, if you're in, you know, coaching sixth grade basketball and you have more than a handful of sets that you run all the year, I don't see that being a great idea. You have your sets that you want to run and that are going to help your teams be competitive, especially down the stretch, but just giving more time during practice to work on skills and to actually play, I think would be your best bet.
All right, I'm going to open it up for questions soon, but before we do that, Corey, then you'll get really on the hot seat with all these coaches, hopefully
Yeah.
asking you tough questions. I
Yeah,
got some
sure.
prepared ones if we don't have any dialogue. Um, but I want to talk to the coaches about resources. You mentioned, in the future you want to open up the gym for them to attend practices. I would like to offer my help as well. I will attend a practice. In fact, I have one scheduled that for Saturday that, let's see if he's on here, Tim. Hopefully can get pushed to Sunday. Um, but I got reached out, hey, we got this kind of a team. Do you have any drills for playing post defense with a smaller group, that type of thing? So I'm going to come and coach practice for 15, 20 minutes and just be a resource for you coaches. And I'm happy to do that for anyone, either coaching an entire practice or just being, a supporting role, talking strategically about game issues or even practice issues. And I can also be that liaison to bring in Corey if, I don't aim to know it all and be it all and have all the answers. So I have a lot of them. I played varsity and college basketball myself, but I'm not, I think we all need to leverage each other. So the other thing, we do have the announcement about videos. One thing that I did with my team last year, I actually watched game film and sent 4 to 5 different snapshots, said, hey, look at the 16-20 mark of this scrimmage. This is what we've been talking to you about as far as help defense. You can't see the ball and your man, that type of thing. I'm more than willing to watch a game or two of your team's play and offer what I'm viewing. So just let me know if you have any interest in that. Corey mentioned YouTube. Corey, we're going to put as many drills as we decide is helpful, but I think what it does is two things. It gives you all an opportunity to see some of the drills that Corey wants us to run that will help your kids prepare for the high school level. But I also think it offers a language and vernacular that will be the same. So we all continue to use the same terminology throughout the entire program. So we hope to do that. So let me know if there's anything I can do. I'll probably reach out to you individually too, and we can even set up 20 minutes for something like this, a Zoom call to answer any questions. Anything else, Corey, that you can think of before you get on the hot seat?
No, I think that's good
All
for
right.
now. I'm sure something pop up. Let's go.
All right, bring it on. What questions? What did I miss, everybody? Feel free to jump in.
Hey, Steve, Corey, Tim Clokey here.
Hey.
Steve, you kind of alluded to the team that we had there, 8th grade team, kind of a smaller group, can get up and down the floor a little bit. Wondered if you had any thoughts related to pressing. You mentioned, I think, in your remarks earlier that you were, open to the press.
Yeah.
From a man-to-man standpoint. I didn't teach the boys any bad habits where that's something that's going to get shredded a couple years, down the line at the high school level. But how do you feel about letting them go a little bit in terms of pressing and what kind of a press would you implement if so?
No, yeah, I love it. I love that idea, especially if you got a team that you think is going to give them the best chance to have fun and be competitive and develop. We'll run some. We'll call it like our 35 press. We'll run just a little like run and jump trap stuff where it's still man-to-man concepts where you're just forcing the ball to the sideline, and once you get it, use that volleyball line on the basketball court. Once you get it between the volleyball line and the sideline, then you can trap from the backside out of that help spot and rotate. So you're really not breaking a lot of your man-to-man principles. You still need to be good in help side to be able to get to the rotations. You're still ball pressuring. You're still moving. You're still guarding. But you're bringing that pressure up and forcing them where you want them to go. I think is what we'll do often, and we'll teach that a lot starting in 9th grade and going up. And then depending on the team that we have in high school, we might run it one possession a year. We might run it half the time, so just kind of see how it goes. But something like that's good. If you want to mix in a zone trap or zone defense, zone press is fine. Again, it's just the percentage of the time you're using it is what I would say just to think about. You're going to use it half the time. I don't know if that's going to be good development for them on the defensive end. But if you can mix in some sort of man-to-man pressure, I think would be the best bet. I'd be happy to talk more about that too, like what that kind of that man-to-man pressure would look like if you want to connect more.
Yeah, I'll reiterate what Corey said from a CAA standpoint and the board standpoint. I don't mind it every once in a while either. You want to throw a zone, a half-court defense out of an out-of-bounds play late in the game, that's one thing. But if you're doing it for over half of your game, you're not teaching the kids anything. They're not developing. They're not getting prepared for playing at the next level. Any other, who else has the next question?
Hey, Corey, this is Matt Thomas. I'm one of the seventh grade coaches. I'm wondering if you could just share some of your thoughts on how you might try to just create general excitement around the program and maybe create more connectedness between the youth teams and your varsity team. Whether that's, somehow working out something where all the traveling kids, get free attendance into all varsity games, or, you have them come to games as a team. That just the atmosphere in the gym for varsity games, I'd say the past couple of years is really pretty poor. And there really needs to be a concerted effort, I think, just kind of to get some excitement around the program. I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on how you might do that.
Yeah, so some of those ideas that you mentioned, just some of the things that I've done in the past, we've done is having teams come and work out some sort of deal where they can get in at a discount price or wear their jersey and get in. I would like to have, in such a unique time right now that I don't know if year one is when it's really going to hit the ground running, but we have a team of the game. So you got your fifth grade C team where you get a couple of kids that can come into the locker room before the game and at halftime and be really like in the groups. And then that's the team of the game that kind of is the focus. They get a little extra love and attention. Atmosphere comes with the product that I'm going to put on the floor as well. So once we start, depending on how competitive we are and the style that we play, people are going to want to come and watch it. And then hopefully, to be honest with you, just with running the clinics and getting to know kids through the summer and giving them opportunities in the fall and spring just to play basketball. And once you can build those relationships and I get to know, those fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh graders by name and get to know all their families a little bit better, kind of hopefully it'll open those doors to do a little bit more. But I really, as a lot of things, there's no like secrets, magic, elixir, or pill. It's just going to be us putting a good product out there and then connecting with kids as best that I can.
Who's next? Go ahead, Dan.
Dan Mueller. I help out with the as an assistant for the 8th grade and the 5th grade level.
Hey, Dan.
Hi.
Hey, Dan, can you take your hat off?
I'm getting to that point.
All
So that's kind of where I wore the hat. What's your emphasis or what's your thought about emphasizing the 3-point shot? Because the youth nowadays, all they want to do is sit around the 3-point shot or 3-point line and shoot the three. And this is what it does to coaches.
Oh, right
So
on.
I guess to follow up with that, I mean, do you, like with your program, do you shy, it's like, hey, we're not going to take threes all day, or are you more, liberal with that and saying, yeah, if you could shoot the rock, go for it. You got the green light.
I would lean probably a little bit more with the high school program on a little more liberal side, as long as they're a quality shooter. I think that comes down to that idea. Like, I think that line is just working beautifully into the spacing game that we want to play, and you want to have kids that can shoot. And that's oftentimes, if you ask a high school coach what's the number one skill on, that you want, is kids that can shoot the basketball. However, once you get to that youth level, you're talking about kids that are still just developing that strength, and they're losing form to get the ball 19 feet 9 inches there. They think it's cool, and that's what they see on TV. So I don't think by any means it's something that we need to push in the youth level. I don't think we need to tell kids that we have to get those 3-point shots. That actually probably discourage it, as well, if it's, like I said, taking away from kids' ability to shoot the ball properly. So I don't think we need to do that by any means. But going forward, the idea that they're spacing out and backing out and progressing out to that line, and when they get to high school, that they're going to want to have the skill set to shoot it, whether they're 6'6" or 5'9", is going to be important. If that answers your question at all.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the older they get, the more physical developed they are. Like the eighth graders, I have much
So,
more wide open,
yeah. And for
go
And
ahead.
me,
Yeah,
with
let's
like,
shoot a little bit more threes.
so for me, it's with us, what we'll preach the high school level too is it depends on the quality of three. I want the ball to get into the paint, get into the middle of the floor. So if we're just doing one pass and chucking up threes, that's not winning basketball. That's not going to help you get. You're just not going to win very many games doing that. But if we can attack either off the bounce or through a post player and get the ball inside and kick it out, then to me it's almost like if you're in rhythm and you have the ability to shoot it, put it up.
Okay.
I'll give you my opinion on that one too, if I can. Joel and Chris can attest to this. We coached together last year, and I'm not a yeller. I don't yell on the bench, but I did scream a couple times with my kid's name when he was jacking up threes. So I didn't think the fourth graders, any of my kids, were strong enough to put it up with good form. That said, I had my fifth grade team this past week actually go through 3-point shooting as a station so I could keep track of their percentage. And I'm going to talk with each of them about whether they think they're a good shooter yet or not. And I was keeping track of their form. So personally, I think I've seen plenty of guys at open gym at the 7th grade, 8th grade, and even, in between that 6th grade level, it's kind of dependent on the player. That's my opinion. 5th grade, even, there's some kids that on our team, I'm going to give the green light. I think they're good enough shooters, but others that, they're really shooting from the hip and hitting the front rim every single time they shoot it. But I'm happy to talk to you guys about it too, and my approach to how I handle these conversations if you want to offline.
We have a little green light shooting drill that we do with some of our high school kids as well, where you got to make a certain amount of shots around the spot in a 2 minutes thing before, I would consider saying you can start shooting the green light in games. So that'll hopefully be one of the drills that we can put in that YouTube channel for you to see and just kind of tailor it to your group. And we did it actually with our camp this summer, and with our 4th, 5th, 6th graders, we did it at 15 to 17 feet instead of 3-point line.
Next question.
Steve, I have one. Brandon Harmon from the 4 Gold boys. And I coached girls from 5th grade up through 8th. And we had a motion offense that we had, and then we have 5-out. And I was curious to see what type of motion offense Chris could describe that he has. I'd like to have a more scripted motion for these 4th graders first before we introduce 5-out, because I think 5-out is more of a progression over the year. They're going to have to learn how to read and react. So I want to have a little bit more scripted motion that I can take them out of the 5-out and put them into that periodically if we need to get a basket and get back in rhythm. So what type of motion do you typically run? Is it a scripted? Do you have like a scripted motion?
We don't have like a pure continuity type thing or something like that. We don't. The way that I progress the teaching of it with our high school kids is a little bit more of a blocker mover style. So if you're familiar with that, that's kind of a Dick Bennett old school way. But essentially, you got your 5 guys and you got 2 set people that are setting those screens. So you don't have 5 kids looking at each other wondering who's going to set a screen and what you're doing. So and we'll do that with our high school kids this year as that teaching progression. We'll start with that, and we'll dictate like the 4 and 5 men are 2 kids out there that when we're in our half court offense, those are the screen setters, and the other kids are coming off that. And then we'll talk about the screen angles that we want to have. So we'll, if it's a pin down, a way screen, a flare screen, a back screen. So those are the 4 heavy ones that we'll do often. And we'll go with those as like that just idea that our 1, 2, 3 guys are coming off of a screen by 4 or 5. And then after you screen, we'll space back out and react and play. And then once we move the ball, we're going to start screening that again. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, that it's definitely not an easy teaching thing, and it's not an easy thing to pick up. So even like a little bit like a read and react stuff where you're just passing, cutting, screening away in 4th grade, I think is just important to learn. It's not going to be pretty. I hope everyone kind of understands that it's not going to be something that takes place in a couple of weeks. it is definitely a progression and something that we build up to for sure.
Okay. All right.
And
Thanks.
kind of along those lines, that's a good point. We're talking about that motion stuff. I think, and I've talked to Steve about this with the idea of like some ball screening action. I think it's really good basketball. I love watching it. I love what it forces the defense to do and play. However, like at a younger level, when you're running ball screens, it just teaches kids to run to the ball all the time and not actually see what's going on the court. So I
Sure.
think it's one of those things that's, I don't want to say fool's gold, but I think it limits the ability to learn how to play for kids when you're running like heavy ball screen stuff, especially at those younger, those fourth, fifth, sixth grades. So I would personally, I think we should try to stay away from running
Stay away from that. Yeah.
maybe a set or two. Just try to stay away from that heavy ball screen stuff because it ends up kids standing around and watching two kids play and the other three kids not really having the idea of what to do or how to space out at all.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
Corey, I want to be respectful of your time. 6:33. I know you got to get to your kids.
Yeah, I got a couple
conferences.
minutes left here, probably about
Okay.
maybe 5 minutes here.
Let's take 2 more questions if we have them. If you pause too long, I'm going to throw one in myself.
Simple one. Pack acid from, I got 5th and 7th. Steve, who's going to help us out at 5th grade? Come in and help you. Who's that? Is that
We
Corey?
need
Is
it.
he
I don't
gonna-
know. I'm searching for it. I'm hoping we can use each other.
All right. Two quick questions. Wondering, because of COVID, we have this game cast thing or season cast. Wondering if that could be available to record practices, so maybe coaches or kids could watch varsity practice if that's an option. Think that could be helpful for kids to kind of see that.
Yeah.
And then secondly, what's your favorite college program? And there are a lot of dads on here, so this answer is very important.
Okay, so first one, yeah. So we got the huddle focus stuff. So that camera's mounted in the gym right now. So I was just actually bringing that idea up of since coaches and kids can't get into the gym to watch us, I'm trying to figure out a way to make that relevant and useful of like filming a practice where maybe you guys would like to do that. So that's kind of something I'm thinking about and in the works a little bit. Favorite program. So this is a little bit twofold story. I'm a Gopher guy. I'm a Minnesota guy, so I'm a Gopher guy. But 1991, Bobby Hurley. I got a Bobby Hurley jersey. I got this Bobby Hurley jersey that I still wear once in a while. However, I've lost a little bit of love for the Duke program since they've gone one and done. I like the old school Duke program better. So really, if you're going to catch me watching college basketball, I'm more of a late night, like WCC, Gonzaga, BYU guy, or St. Mary's, just watching that. Or like, I really like the Valley. I'm a big Ben Jacobson fan of the UNI. So those are the teams that I watch more often now. Young me was a big Duke guy. Me now is still just a Gopher diehard that's just hoping and just waiting to be disappointed. But
Hey, we get your Austin players, hopefully.
yeah, hopefully I got a former player of mine that's a Gopher right now. So if he gets to be eligible here, he'll help out. He's a talented kid. Great kid, actually. Great kid.
Anyone want that last question?
That Minnesota nice thing. It's like leaving
All
that
right.
one piece of food on the table and nobody wants it. You gotta be that last one to do it.
All right. If you were to rank the skills needed for a player to become a varsity basketball player, what's your top 3 to 4 and in what order? What should they be worried about learning right now?
That's good. So you're talking about, it's a little bit of a loaded question, the idea that if you're talking to like basketball knowledge is skill, and understanding how to play.
Free form, you can answer however you want.
So that's up there. Like, so if you got a kid that can fill it up and shoot, but doesn't know where to go ever, that kind of kills you. So I think my 1 and 2 are going to be basketball IQ and toughness. Like, are they tough enough and competitive enough? And then when you're dropping in the skill, you're talking about shooting and ball handling. That would be probably the top 4 for me. So, if you get kids that are just smart basketball IQ kids and they're just tough, even if we lose a little bit, those kids are just fun to coach. And then you mix in a kid that can space out and shoot it a little bit, you can do some things. And if they're 6'6", that helps too.
Why do you stop at 6'6"? I'll take a 6'8" or 6'10" guy.
Right, there you go.
Well, thanks for doing this. I really hope to leverage maybe having these occasionally throughout the season if things come up. I really need to hear from the coaches on what we can do to support you. I will attend practices. At some point, I will attend all of your practices at least once just to check in. I'll try to call you. I have drills. I'm kind of a basketball nut that follows drills on Twitter, and so I can send you whatever you need. If you're saying I'm in need of a ball handling drill, I'm in need of a shooting drill, just let me know.
Yeah, I'm in for that too. The more we can connect, the better. Don't be afraid to shoot me a message if you have a question. And I also like getting some of those updates once in a while. Just kind of keep me in the loop of saying, hey, our fourth grade team just played in this tournament, and this is how it went. Or it's important for me to kind of keep it in with those kids. So when I see them, I can connect with them about it. Now, I think that's how we'll see growth in the program and making sure that we kind of stay together as a whole program and not just a high school youth level. We want to kind of connect that as much as we can.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for attending. Like
Thank
we
you.
said, this is recorded. I'll send a link out to the YouTube channel sometime in the next week. It's not a rush, but we have some other Matt Arnold videos that are out there. We have Corey's introductory video, and that's where we're going to house all those future practice drills. So stay tuned for an email coming my way from me to you. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thanks, you
Hey,
guys.
thank you, everybody.
You.
Bye.